Hello my dear students, welcome to your Geography's online class. So today in this class we will be discussing about the transport in India. So what do you mean by transport when we discuss it is that it is the movement of passengers and goods from one place to another. So transportation is a service system that provides help for the movement of goods and passengers. So when we say transport, it means again as a movement of goods and services. This transportation system in India is mostly carried out in three major forms, that is land transport, water transport and air transport. So when we see this, we have in India as roadways, then we have railways, we have airways and waterways. So these are the four major transportation systems that is practiced in India, and roadways being one of the oldest. So let us discuss them in details. But as per your syllabus for this chapter, you need to understand mostly the advantages and disadvantages of the transportation system that is practiced in India. So let's discuss today about their advantages and disadvantages. So when we have to discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of the roadway systems in India, we see as advantages that its greatest advantage becomes as a door-to-door service that it provides, with no other transportation system that provides a door-to-door service. The second of all, it's easy and cheap mode for traveling in the shorter distance and easy available. Third is it can be constructed in any difficult terrain. Roadways can be constructed even in the tough terrains like hilly regions or plateaus. Four, we see as an advantage that it acts as feeders to other transport. That means it supports other transport by providing assistance. Like for example, railways cannot travel everywhere. So in this regards, what happens? After reaching the railway station, if the goods is to be reached to the market, then it becomes a roadways to be looking forward with for taking up those goods from the railway station to the marketplace. So this is where it acts as feeders. And the same likewise even for bringing such goods to transport the other places until railway stations it needs to reach. Then we see it's an easy transportation of perishable goods. The fifth advantage that it gets is that it's very easy to transport perishable goods from one place to another. For example, sugarcane is one such goods which has to be carried to factories instantly after it has been cut, or else once we keep the sugar canes for a longer time period without reaching the factory, it may tend to lose its quality. That is, the sucrose contained in sugar cane may decrease. So this may not be very profitable in producing sugar. So such goods has to be taken instantly to the factories, and this is where roadways helps very easily. So these are certain advantages of roadways. Now it certainly has some disadvantages, and we see they are that traveling in roadways for a longer distance is not very suitable, as you do not have that kind of comfort in the roadways than as compared to other transportation system. For example, railways has their own sleeper berth, but roadways, when we are traveling by buses, then there is no such sleeper berths where we find for traveling in a bus. Then we see that roadways are costlier than railways and also water transport. It's a very simple example and evident. You can reach to other destinations from your place at cheaper price in railways than as compared to roadways, and you must have practically also experienced it. The third is that there is an increase in traffic and accidents. Road accidents and road traffics are one of the vulnerable things that has always caused a problem for road development. Then poor maintenance of roads. There are potholes on the roads which causes lots of difficulties in traveling. So these poor maintenance becomes a serious threat, and also this in later stages causes accidents. Then And the last point that we see as a disadvantage is that the road systems that we have, it causes lots of air pollution, mostly because of emissions of the smoke that come from the vehicles causes large scale air pollution. So now this is about the roadway system. Though there are developmental progress taking place in maintaining the roads and making a good conditions roads in the country, India, but still we see that there are these problems that have been faced. Problems for pollution. We see nowadays most of the vehicles, they are coming as non-polluting vehicle, or very little emissions of carbon has been done, but still it cannot be controlled, or in fact you cannot say that smoke is not emitted from the vehicles. Even for the maintenance of roads, now there are a lot of taxes that have been collected from the toll plazas or the toll tax region, which is helping in maintaining of roads. So roadways with the disadvantages and their advantages. Now let's discuss about the railways. Discussing about the railway system in India, railways has been into practice since pre-independence, that is since the British time, with its opening in 1853 with only a distance of 34 kilometers been travelled between Mumbai and Thane. We see today that railways has been providing a huge impetus to the economic prosperity, or you can say economic development for the country. Hence, we consider this as one of the important means of transportation, as it has been connecting different parts of the country, and also is one of the largest railway networks of the world. So when we see the advantages of railways in India, we see that it is very easy to carry bulky goods and raw materials to and fro. That is from the source of the raw materials to the factories, and even the finished good from factories to the marketplaces, or even to longer distance. Then the railways, it's much safe and comfortable for families, because it has almost every facilities that we can get, in fact that we want, but these very things we lack in road transport. Movement of police, troops and defense, that is mostly in the groups that they have been traveled from one place to another in times of national security or in times of emergencies. Railways act very important. Then we see that railways has connected villages to cities very well, because these railways has been traveling to those areas even where agricultural fields are mostly found. That means mostly villages where agriculture is in practice, because of that it requires to collect raw materials, so it has even been traveling to those places. So very well connected to villages and cities. Apart from these, railways has been playing a very important role since its pre-independence era for maintaining national security as well as integrity. And hence there is always a sense of belonging, of oneness, that is to what we call nationalism. That is where railways has played a very important role. Now coming to the disadvantages of railways, that we see railways has a certain limitations, because it cannot be laid, or the railway tracks cannot be laid everywhere. So hence it lacks its flexibility. As we see that it is not flexible, because it cannot be constructed in every place, as mostly the hilly regions or swampy areas or very soft soil region, it cannot be constructed. So that it becomes a problem. The next is railway cannot provide door-to-door service. It has a certain stoppage, that is station, so it cannot be stopped anywhere or as like you want it, as compared to like the road transport, where it can be stopped anywhere you desire to, but railways cannot happen such. Another major problem faced by Indian Railways is delay in time. The passengers waiting for the trains is facing severe problem because of the movement of trains, which is delaying with the time. So this is another major problem. Then traveling in trains becomes quite long and tedious, because a distance of almost 3 days or 3 nights becomes very difficult to travel in trains. Though we find, or though we have some facilities for like sleeping, washrooms, or even for your food items, everything is provided in train, but still traveling a longer distance becomes quite tedious, and then As compared to airways, this becomes quite hectic journey. So these are certain disadvantages that we find in Indian railway system. So this is for the class today. Thank you, and you all have a very good time.